What is up, guys? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it really helps out our channel. Now, just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time out of your day to be here. Really does mean the world. And let's just crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. And our first story was a request on Twitter from Punk Rock GF, and it was said, "Hi Mark, was hoping you would cover this story if you're taking requests." And yeah, sure, I take a request every once in a while. Why not, right? And our first story comes from I am a dad of two girls, called "Am I the arsehole for trying to get my girls interested in my hobbies/interests instead of getting into theirs? I have two girls, 13 and 10, with my wife of 9 years. My girls are typical girls and I don't have a lot of interests in common with me. I tried from a young age to get them interested in things we could share. They never got interested. I'm talking things like video games, science fiction and fantasy books, Star Wars, Iron Man, Batman, etc. These are all popular things I see a lot of other parents getting into with their kids. They are more interested in things I just can't relate to. The 13-year-old is into fashion, clothes, makeup, hair, all of that. The younger one really likes animals and JoJo Bo. I've tried to be interested in their things. We watched this really bad campy TV show called One Day at a Time, but I didn't like it and found the writing bad, and they got mad at me when I would laugh. The older one likes the show Riverdale, which I admit was a little more interesting, but it was all a bunch of gossipy teen stuff. I just hit a wall. I couldn't figure out why I was going through all this effort to spend time with them when they obviously don't care enough to be interested in things I care about either. I tried to sit down with them and watch Mandalorian and they didn't like it. That really hurt me. Like really hurt me. I know kids aren't going to be your own reflection staring back at you, but I thought I'd at least be able to share things I love with them. I thought we'd get to spend time together instead of being one of those fractured families with no interest in each other. I told my wife that I was sick of feeling like an outsider in my own family and that I'd like it if we could maybe do some designated time that we would do things I like too. I suggested we could all sit down and learn to play this board game I like, Settlers of Catan. My wife told me that I needed to stop trying to force my stuff down their throat and find a balance somehow. I told her this is the balance. I can't pretend to be interested in things like gossipy TV dramas, soap operas, etc. when that just isn't me. I'm not a teenage girl, I can't pretend to be one. Am I the arsehole? I feel lonely in my own family. Is it me, or does OP in this story come across as really whiny and needy? And don't get me wrong, I totally understand that he's wanting to relate to his kids in some ways and do things that they like so they can all bond together, but it just sounds like he wants them to do what he wants. And I totally get him wanting to be into the Mandalorian. I love that. I absolutely love it. But if they're not into it, they're not into it. And you're just not trying to find a middle space at all in this story. You're literally trying to force them into what you like, and anything that they like, you're just saying, I'm not interested in. So how is that a middle ground in any way? But RevMatt says, you're the arsehole. Part of being a parent is taking an interest in what your kids are into, whether you like it or not. And trying to force your kids into whatever you're interested in pretty much never works. They're literal kids. It's not your job to placate you to build a relationship. These are the years that you connect and show interest in them, not complain that their perfectly normal and appropriate young girl interests aren't exciting enough for you. Why should they be interested in you when you're not interested in them? And Indigo Oblivion says, you feel like an outsider because your kids don't want to read Batman comics. Oh boy. You're the arsehole, you are the parent, suck it up and spend time with your kids. There's nothing wrong with having a game night, but you can't force your kids into your hobbies. You sound like a whiny brat right now. Listen to your wife. But Scatter409 says, so it hurt you when they didn't like Mando, but it's fine when you don't like Odat. I don't know what that is. You haven't tried to be interested in their things. You've grudgingly watched something and then declared it sucks, and you can't figure out why you put in all this effort. I'll help. Because they're your kids. This stuff is reciprocal. Show genuine interest in them because you're interested in them, not because you're putting in interest coins to get Settlers of Catan prize out. To be honest, I'm into the same stuff you are and get your boredom with the other stuff, but you don't get to choose your kids. You only get to choose what kind of relationship you want to have with them. Right now, you're the arsehole, but you can definitely turn this around. Grab a bow and learn a JoJo song. And Music with Roxin says, you're the arsehole. You aren't going to find middle ground, you're trying to force them onto your ground. You want to play a game? Fine, ask them what game they want to play. Your part of the activity? Playing a game. Their part? Picking the game. See how both contribute? Or take them to the zoo, or on a family picnic. You don't get to disparage the shows they like, and then be really hurt they don't like your show. Try thinking of things they like. If they like Riverdale and you like sci-fi, maybe watch some Buffy together. Take them sledding, do something out of the house. You are supposed to be the adult one here. You are the one that needs to make concessions. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this story? How would you act? What would you do with the husband? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Pookie Nermal. Am I the arsehole for not trying harder to tell my husband I was in labour? My husband, who I do love and does love me, is a distant and private person to everyone. His mum was having health problems and I didn't know until weeks later when I spoke to her. I asked him how she was doing later and he said he didn't know. That's just how he deals with things. He doesn't want to get personal with anyone. We share hobbies and can have good conversations as long as they're not too personal. It can be off-putting, but I genuinely enjoy his company. Jump to this last week. I am pregnant and went into labour. It was only a few days before my due date, so nothing concerning. I tried to call his work, but his phone went right to voicemail because he was in a meeting. I texted him, still no answer. I waited a half hour, then tried again, and still couldn't get through. My labour was getting further along, so I called a friend to get a ride to the hospital. By the time my husband checked his phone at the end of the workday, I had already given birth to our daughter. Everything was very straightforward, no complications. We were ready to leave by the next morning. My husband is upset with me though, saying I should have come by his work to tell him it was time. But he has always been distant about work. I know what department he works in, but not where his office is in the building. It would have been awkward. My husband has told me what I did was unforgivable. He hasn't called me an arsehole, but has said I am a horrible person for denying him the joy of seeing our daughter born. Am I the arsehole for not trying harder to contact him? Info, because a lot are asking. I did text specifically that I was in labour. I left voicemail to the same. I panicked a bit and didn't call his office because he likes to keep work and home separate, which means I don't know a lot about his work and I was worried I would overshare to his co-workers by calling. And him not checking his phone, that is part of his work-home split too. He doesn't deal with anything work-related at home, but also just his personal phone out of his mind at work. It is rare for me to get a response from him at all while he is at work on a normal day. So let me get this straight in this story. He expected you, the wife who's pregnant, who's just gone into labour, to turn up at his work and then go find him while she's in labour. What an idiot. And for the cheek of this man to turn around and say that's unforgivable for you to do that to him. Oh, I'd be having some serious words, I can tell you that. But Denny Penny says he expected you, a person in labour, to come to his work to find him, and he has his phone off instead of silence or WTV, when he very much knew you were days from your due date. Not the arsehole, your husband is just clueless. He needs to have been better in general about paying attention. And Angeliana says, not the arsehole, your husband let you down. He wasn't there for you for the birth of your child, and he's making it about him. He has twisted this. And BDSM Queen says, not the arsehole, what the hell is his deal? He is emotionally distant and keeps his private life from his wife, but expects you, when you're in labour, to come by his work. Lol. He messed up, and I bet he knows he did. His wife was due for labour any day now. He should have been continuously checking his phone throughout the day. He didn't check it till the end of the day. Come on now, that is unacceptable. And Yuki says, not the arsehole. You should have come to his office deep in labour. Just end up plopping out your baby right on the meeting room floor. What the fuck? No. He should have known it was close to your due date and kept his phone on. Kept away to be contacted. It's his own fault he missed it. And Bean J says, not the arsehole, none of these things you listed sound personal to me. They sound like normal things that partners talk about from day to day. It's also strange to me that he's upset that you deprived him of being in the room instead of depriving you support as you gave birth. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation? And how would you act if you was in it and then the husband said these kind of things like unforgivable to you? How would you feel? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from the Depression of Trees. Am I the arsehole for screaming at my parents when they went through my phone while I was asleep? I think we pretty much know what the answer is going to be on this one, but we'll read it anyway. This happened this morning and I am still shaking with rage. Let's begin with some backstory. I was planning on moving out into an apartment in February of 2020. Then the pandemic hit, and I was no longer able to move out due to the quarantine. Once the major quarantine was lifted and we're able to go outside again, I still couldn't move out because my mother is severely immunocompromised. If she got the virus, it would be a death sentence, so I was basically stuck at home, doing the majority of the housework and anything I could do to help. I typically do about 5 to 6 hours of physical labour daily. Another thing you should know about me is that I am transgender and was in the closet until about 3 months ago. I was outed by my piece of shit brother. For about 2 months, my parents bordered on abusive. They would use slurs towards me and do their best to make me feel like shit. After I went to my therapist for help and she talked to them, they were no longer abusive, but still very unsupportive. I use Reddit on my phone, and I am on several LGBT meme subreddits, and I download any memes that make me laugh so I can send them to my friends. I keep my phone password protected but haven't updated in a while. This morning I woke up, reached my phone, and it wasn't there. I left my room and asked my parents if they'd seen my phone. They said that they had it. When I asked why, they said we were looking for any contraband. I asked them what they meant by contraband, and they responded with anything that doesn't fit with our values, and that they'd found what I was hiding. I was starting to get angry, so I asked what they'd found. They told me we found things of unholy nature, unsuitable for the eyes of any of God's children. It was my memes. They started to chew me out for having content of an evil nature, and that there will be serious consequences. I was seriously pissed off that they had come into my room while I was sleeping, taken my phone, cracked the passcode, looked through my photos, messages, and everything else. 3 months of anger at how they treated me exploded. I started screaming about how they were unfit to be parents, how I'd wish that they had died, how they'd made my life hell for months, how I have trust issues and PTSD from how they treated me as a child, how they hurt me and broken me. I screamed for about 10 minutes, and when I was done, my mum started crying. She tried to explain herself, and I told her to shove her excuses up her ass. I think I might have gone too far, but I was so angry that I didn't care. Well, Reddit, am I the arsehole? And we're going to start off with Engineering Own saying not the arsehole and quotes 5 to 6 hours of physical labour daily. And then says, how freaking messy is your house that this is a daily occurrence? OP replies to this saying, very, very messy. My father is basically a hoarder and my mother is allergic to dust. That means dusting and vacuuming every day. We're always looking for more storage space, so I build bookshelves. My mother's vision is failing, so we install new sources of light about every week. Plus we have a garden that needs raking, weeding, mulching, shoveling snow, etc. And Soul Seer says, not the arsehole, don't believe the crying, sending good vibes with the hopes you can move out soon. And B-Boop says, not the arsehole, and you need to go ahead and move out. I'm sorry that your parents aren't accepting of you for who you are. As a Christian, I believe we are all children of God, and He made you exactly the way you are, and you deserve to be loved for who you are. Separate yourself from the situation as soon as humanly possible, even if it means going to stay with friends until an apartment is ready. Big hugs to you. And Spotted Pool also replies to this saying, seconded. As a Christian, your parents sound like the Christians that give all Christians a bad name. I for one can't stand those kind of people because of the hypocrisy and hatred they spew when Jesus taught love and acceptance. Just know that you are loved and accepted, even if it's just by us strangers on the web. And Ray Ray says, not the arsehole, they don't support you. They stole your phone and went through it. Too many boundaries crossed to even count. They tried to shame you with their beliefs and called you evil. You hit a breaking point and let loose. You need to leave for your own mental health. Your mother crime was an emotional manipulation. You need to leave and go no contact with the entire lot. And Celicia Schrodinger says, not the arsehole, I will be checking for spyware too. Maybe back up your photos and wipe it just to be sure. Have someone with you when you move your things, maybe even a police officer depending on how the ones in your city are. I will take off and change my name. Big hugs. Now, I turn this one to you guys. What do you think of this story? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for kicking my friend out after what he did? I, male 28, lost my late fiance in 2018 in an auto accident. It was hard for me to process this sudden change in my life. It took me time to get in therapy. My sister helped me with it even though it was already late. I was advised to get into group therapy and I did. 6 months ago I met a guy, Jason, who also lost his partner. We started talking outside of therapy. We'd meet at different places and he started introducing me to a few of his friends who went through the same as me and him, and I was told I'm welcome in the group. The guys do a lot of activities together. I started taking part in their activities, attend events and do bonding activities. We'd gather every Thursday night, play video games or talk. Jason is one who comes up with the plans and activities for the guys. I noticed all 4 guys have gotten the same tattoo. When I brought it up, they said the tattoo represents the group. I decided to wait after Jason suggested I get one as well. They've mentioned that none of them wanted to meet people and start over. The issue started when Jason saw me talking online with my new girlfriend. He asked about it and seemed upset, but I told him this was just a friend because I didn't want to tell him much, so he dropped it. On Valentine's, the guys made plans to spend the night in and play games. I told them I wanted to go to my parents' house and they said okay. I came back to my place at 8 PM. I was surprised to see Jason there. He had a spare key, but I expected him to be with the guys. Jason looked upset and said he was there to pick up his laptop and saw the gift my new girlfriend sent me in the morning. He asked why I didn't mention I have a girlfriend who's sending me gifts. He said I lied to the entire group and disrespected them. I was stunned when he said he threw the gift in the trash can because what I was doing was disrespectful of my late fiance's memory. I lost my shit on him. I yelled at him, told him he had no right to try and dictate my life and get involved like that. We argued for a few minutes and he said he hoped I'll be able to sleep at night for doing this to my late fiance, then left. He had the guys calling and texting hurtful things, calling me a liar and a manipulator. Went on about his commitment to not disrespect our partner's memories and that I needed to make things right or they won't be welcoming me into the group again. Thing is, Jason supported me a lot. I remember when he was the only one who had time to hear about my issues even outside of therapy. He went through a lot and lost his wife and brother the same year. From what I understand, he's a sympathetic person, so I trusted him and the guys as well. But I find what he did unacceptable and the way he keeps stomping over boundaries got me stressed out. Now this one, as soon as I read about the tattoos and stuff like that, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be cult-like behavior. The way they're acting, man. I mean, absolutely crazy. They're like almost possessive of you at this point. And it's almost like this Jason guy, he's the leader and he's taking people on from the group that you guys were in, the therapy that you was in before. Like he's attaching himself to these people in the group and then, you know, chatting to them outside and then getting them a part of this group and getting tattoos. Then you're all hanging out together. I mean, for the first part where it says you're all chilling and playing games, I thought, oh yeah, this is nice. Then the tattoos come up and now he's like controlling your life. Yeah, it's cult-like behavior, man. But LaCroix says, not the arsehole. Are you sure you didn't accidentally join a cult? And Little Red Brickhouse says, not the arsehole. He went to your place when he knew you weren't going to be there and snooped through your stuff and destroyed your property. And he also actively wants to prevent you from healing from the loss of your partner and finding happiness again. Maybe you shouldn't have lied, but I'm guessing you did, so because you had an inkling of how he'd take your dating. That guy needs more therapy. Sorry about your old friend group. I bet now you can find a healthier one. And Mikey Weasel says, not the arsehole, is this a movie plot? Are you sure Jason and his friends aren't a weird cult? This whole thing sounds amazingly unhealthy at this point. It may have been helpful when the wound of your fiance's passing was fresh. Right now he's invading your privacy, impeding your recovery and destroying your property. You are not the arsehole for kicking him out, and I'd also be rekeying this locks. Even if he gives the key back, you never know if he made a copy. And Vitarius says, not the arsehole, definitely not the arsehole. What this group is doing is unhealthy and borderline dangerous. They've latched onto each other and seemingly Jason as the leader, as almost their own cult of grievers. Matching tattoos, set plans and sleepovers for only members, dictating what each other can and cannot do. You even noticed this red flag yourself when you brought up how you were scared to tell him about your new relationship. This is something your therapy group leader needs to know about right away. As to your deceased partner and your new girlfriend, here is something I feel confident in talking about. I've been with my amazing wife and partner for nearly 20 years. That being said, I've also been diagnosed with a chronic and eventually terminal condition for over half of that. Luckily I've pulled through several close calls, but mortality has been reality for us for 13 plus years. I can't completely speak for your deceased fiance, but I know what I've told my wife countless times. I love her more than anyone I've ever known, with maybe the exception of our daughter, lol. That being said, I've made it clear that I don't want her wasting her life mourning me when I'm gone. I can't dictate what she does when the time comes, but I love her too much to expect her to be alone just to honour my memory. She's a beautiful, compassionate, rare soul who deserves to be loved, and should I go and she find someone new to share her time with, she of course has my blessing. Not that she needs that or my permission. After all, she is her own person, not my property or possession. I imagine your late fiancé felt the same, and would never have wanted you to live in grief and loneliness as Jason and the gang seem to expect. All they're doing is replacing their grief with another attachment, each other, and failing to truly process and move on. It is up to you, but I'd personally cut Jason out before it gets worse. As for everything else, cherish the memories of your late fiancé, hold them dearly in your heart, cry your tears when you need, count every moment you had with her blessing, but don't close out the world. Just because a flower wilts, it doesn't mean another can't grow in its place. You have nothing to be ashamed of in this new relationship. After all, the heart you share with your girlfriend is only as it is because of who you loved before. Your late fiancé will always be a part of it, and as someone who truly loved you, will only find a smile in seeing you happy once more. Now that's a great bit of advice in there as well, but now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation, and how would you deal with it? It's an incredibly tough one, especially that last comment as well. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now once again guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories, and if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too if you're feeling extra spicy. And if you are feeling super spicy, you can click that join button down below for YouTube, or clicking the link in the description for Patreon and heading on over there. Once again guys, thank you for being here today, and I will see you in the next one. Much love.